back for a return engagement. Catherine Hoke is in the house. I think it's been like 10 years since you were in the gathering last. Is that
probably about right?
Something
yes.
like that? Well, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
Last time you were here, it was with an organization called PEP.
Prison Entrepreneurship Program. Yes,
yeah,
it is.
And it had some pretty heady statistics for a young organization.
Yep.
Do you remember? I mean, I just actually wrote some of these down. 25 staff, $2.5 million in private funding, 600 students. And these are, when I say students...
600 graduates, yeah.
600 graduate students from prisons.
Yeah, and then who get out. And we had a 98% employment rate, and 60 of them started their own businesses while I was there for the 5 years under my leadership. And now it's 12 years later, and the organization to this day still has a recidivism rate of only 7%, which is remarkable.
What's the national rate of recidivism?
It depends on what state you're in, but nationally, 76.6% of people are rearrested within 5 years of release.
So 76 and 7%. I would
Yes,
say it's
yeah.
a sizable
PEP is
drop.
a remarkable organization.
And then you're basically being broadcasted on the Washington Post, The Economist, NPR, the New York Times. You're a pretty big deal.
The work that we did attracted some nice attention, and we were grateful for that because that helps us to change the opinions of other people in America.
But this didn't start from nothing. I mean, what were you doing before you began PEP?
Out of college, I started off working in venture capital, doing technology investing, and then I worked for a private equity firm. And I was invited to Texas in prison for my first time when I was 26 years old, and now I'm 39 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, so almost 13 years.
You still, though, call this... PEP is still going on?
Yeah, it's going remarkably, and 18 of the 25 staff members are graduates of the program.
And yet you call it, what you're doing now, a 2.0. Is that because this was the kind of the first venture, and so this is something you've added to that? I sense there's more there. So
I now run an organization that I founded out of New York City called Defy Ventures, like defying the odds and defying the stereotypes and the perceptions and the statistics that are marked with failure in our industry. And I'd love to tell you that I started Defy 6 years ago because I just wanted to build something that was nationally scalable, and that is true, but the real reason that I'm no longer at PEP is because I gave myself the ejector seat after making some really bad decisions and big mistakes in my personal life. So I had been leading PEP for 5 years with the great success that we talked about. I had been married for 9 years, and then I was divorced, and my divorce came unexpectedly for me. And in the wake of my divorce, I ended up making decisions that I regret. I had some relationships with people who had been released from prison. So they were graduates of my own program. It wasn't illegal, but I knew it went against my own spiritual values, a really bad leadership decision. And I was honest about my mistakes, and the Texas prison system didn't like it, and they forced my resignation. It came out in the news nationally and then even globally. This was 7 years ago. And I used to always start every speaking engagement with the question, what would it be like if you were only known for the worst thing you've ever done?
And suddenly that is your
story. I was
story.
Covered in the thickest wall of shame of my life. I tried to take my life. I'm a very vision-driven entrepreneur, and I believed I had screwed up the calling that God had entrusted me with, and I was just so disgusted with myself. But what saved my life in that time, the church absolutely was a church to me. So before my news hit the news, I sent a full disclosure letter. We had 7,500 supporters at the time, and I sent them a letter about my mistakes, and I didn't even know I'd be resigning yet at the time. And people wrote me back with letters of love and support, and you've always been preaching grace, so what can we do for you? And I didn't have a plan B after my resignation. I had put my everything into starting this organization as a young leader. And I didn't have the energy because I hated my own guts so bad, but it was people who loved me back to life when I thought I had nothing to offer. The healing grace that I received by just learning that people loved me as a human being and not just as a leader who produces good results was amazing. It's my relationship with God has changed so much as a result of this experience of really falling on my face.
What was your view of God perhaps before?
I had much more of a legalistic view of God. And although I was preaching grace, I had strong grace for other people, but didn't really apply it to myself. I felt like I became a Christian when I was 25, and I felt like I had walked on to the God team, because I wasn't like, I don't know what age you became a Christian, but like I had a checkered past as it was. So I felt like kind of like a walk-on. And then I felt like a walk-on who screwed up my one chance. I felt like God gave me, he's like, fine, just take society's rejects, like, people in prison, and see what you can do with them. And then I screwed it up. And I was like, I felt like I had no worth. And I wondered what happened to leaders like me who screwed up. Like, did we go serve Starbucks on some castaway island?
In the midst of this, did other leaders who had gone through breaking or some sort of cataclysmic event also reach out to you? So
when I sent out my resignation letter, the most amazing people in the whole world reached out to me. So major pastors, other Christians who said, here, like, we'll help you out. And I ended up going through a year of super intensive therapy. And then I went to these leader screw-up camps, which exist actually. I've studied the field of failure a lot now. So I went to Christian therapy groups where there were a bunch of pastors who had screwed up their lives. And I was like, I cannot believe this. It was really remarkable to me that other people also screw up, because people don't usually publicly talk about it. We try to bury that part of our lives. And because of the way that people loved me back to life so well, it's what makes me even more fired up about second chances and about redemption and about underdogs. And I was blessed with the most incredible network in the world that came to my rescue when I needed it. And it was just, people ask me, how was the church in my time? How did the church treat me? And the church practiced grace with me in a big way. And so now I'm very, very excited about the way that we get to show grace and provide tangible tools and resources to other people. Guys in prison, they don't have families that are like the resource that I had. They don't walk out of prison with a network that wants to love them back to life. So that's where our work comes in at Defy Ventures.
Well, describe Defy. I mean, I can't wait to hear this. Based on all that you've gone through, suddenly you start a new company.
Yep.
But there's some different things going on than what we had with PEP.
Yeah. So some of my mentors said, if you want to do this again, which I got an offer to go back into venture capital because I was so insecure about myself after my resignation. But I could tell that the times when I had felt most alive in my life were when I was in prison. And so some of my mentors said to me, you know how to do this. Go big or go home. Build a nationally scalable solution that can bring healing and redemption opportunities throughout America, because we are the land of mass incarceration. We're worse than any country in incarceration. In America, we only have 5% of the world's population, but we have 25% of the world's prisoners. And it's because we lock people up and we do throw away the key, and we spend so much money in America incarcerating people, and almost nothing goes into rehabilitation. So it's a huge crisis especially for communities of color, but also for taxpayers. There's no bigger waste. Like in California, where we serve a lot of people, 1 year of incarceration costs $47,000 per year. Our average guy averages 21 years in prison. So do the math, 21 times 47,000. The cost for our program at Defy Ventures is only $500. And our recidivism rate is only 3.2%. So I'm really proud of the scalable solution that we've built, because now, just 6 years into building Defy, we're already a nationally replicable solution, and we're growing like a wildfire.
Well, now I've actually seen some of your, the folks that are in your program actually do presentations. I mean, it's a dynamic thing, but I'd love to hear how this works. So you literally have got people that have self-selected into the program? Are these people that you've picked, the people the prison system has picked? How do you first find them? Mm-hmm. How do you train them? And then what is it they do that now connects them in some way with funding or operational resources to get going?
So Defy Ventures is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We train men, women, and incarcerated youth, people inside prison, and then we also serve them after they get out of prison. We teach entrepreneurship, employment readiness, character development, and personal growth. And spiritual transformation is baked through all of that. And we serve people all over the country, and we have rolled out in 20 prisons in just 14 months. And we have a 100% acceptance rate. I used to not do that. I used to not serve certain classifications of crime back in the day. And now I fully believe that all things can be redeemable if we want that redemption, if we take ownership of our past. And I've seen the way that even the worst of crimes.
So you're saying that the crime itself is not the important thing. It is the individual.
I don't
who's
care
made
about
the
what you
decision.
did. I care about who you are now and where you want to go. But you better have a strong work ethic. We have a 15-page application and a 5-page essay that you have to write to get in. Because if you don't have some drive and desire to get your life right, there's nothing that we can do for you. But if you want it, even if you don't know how to go legal with your skill sets, even if you don't know how to stay out of prison, that's where Defy comes in.
I was looking at some of the program titles of some of the classes that are in Defy. How to successfully navigate the job hunt with a rap sheet. How to write a resume even if you serve 19 years in prison. That's pretty direct.
We have 200 courses. We have a blended learning model. So one of my mentors kicked my butt on this, and we used to have like a classroom-based model with one teacher coming in and out, but that's less scalable. So then we started recording all of our courses on videos. Inside prison, it's DVD-based. Outside of prison, there's online-based. But I don't think anyone really transforms just by watching a video. So these 200 courses are everything from like how to tie a tie and 2 hours of dining etiquette to looking at your spiritual wounds or your childhood wounds. There's like a lot of therapy, forgiveness, of 5 love languages. We have really amazing entrepreneurship courses taught by top venture capitalists. We have Harvard and Stanford MBA professors teaching our guys, and when they complete the courses over a 6-month period, they earn a certificate from Baylor University's MBA program, which is a big whoop. So the model is that they watch courses,
incredible.
but then they have to apply it. So they have daily peer groups. It's 3 hours a day inside the prison. And then we have events with mentors and executives and CEOs who come in to do the application of it. And there's also a correspondence aspect where they have to do their homework and they have to mail it to our office to ensure that they're actually learning and applying it. Then when they get out, we have an intense mentoring program. They all get one-on-one mentors, and they compete in these Shark Tank style pitch competitions. We have an incubator where we fund their businesses and provide them with pro bono or low bono services that we get from all of our amazing volunteers, from legal help to marketing assistance.
And so literally during the Shark Tank event, you're also convening the business community to come and hear these pitches.
We have 3,500 CEOs, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, business professionals who come inside prison. So like in a week, we have 82 registered volunteers who are coming to one prison for the Shark Tank. They're all simultaneous panels. At 2 weeks later, we have another prison that has 100 top VCs and CEOs coming in. It's remarkable. And what the incarcerated men and women who participate in our program, they're giving business pitches, and the result of that is that they weep and they say, "You made me feel human for the first time in 20 years." They feel seen. And all our slogan is transform your hustle, because almost everyone in prison is a natural born hustler. They're not all going to succeed as entrepreneurs, though we've incubated and funded 150 of their successful companies. And then their companies have created 350 employment opportunities. So they hire the other ones who are not as successful as starting their own businesses. But the process results in humanizing people who were once so dehumanized. I mean, to me, they're like the lepers of today's society. But what I like to say, especially to Christians, is that who are scared of maybe prison stuff, is our scriptures are written by 3 murderers, David, Paul, and Moses. You know, and think about what scripture describes David as. So why is it that if we're willing to believe and shape our lives after the words that were written by people who were murderers, why do we treat today's criminals like 21st century lepers?
You've made an interesting quote. I've heard you say, America isn't a nation of second chances. What do you mean by that?
Well, we're touted as a nation of second chances. My father moved my family to America when I was 7 years old, and he told me that America is a land of liberty and justice for all. So I grew up super pro-America and believing that until I came across this sector. And once you have a felony, so when you do your time in prison, you're supposedly paying your debt to society. But after you get out, it's like you're wearing invisible handcuffs for the rest of your life. People don't want to hire you. Your resume goes straight to the trash pile. You'll be excluded from certain social circles. There are places where you can't live, in certain neighborhoods where you can't live. You can't get access to certain public benefits. You sometimes lose your voting rights depending on the state. So there are some people who really actually put their money where their mouths are when we talk about being into second chances. I like to say our work is more about legitimate first chances, if you knew the way that our men and women grew up as children.
Oh, that's great. I really like that. And you've also taken this program online.
Yeah, so after they get out of prison, inside they have the DVDs, the peer groups, the mentoring, the coaching events. Then when they get out of prison, we help them to find a job first. That's like first things first. So they're putting legal money in their pockets so that then they're not tempted to go back to the same old, which is usually selling drugs. And then if they want to enter our entrepreneurship incubator, we have another 100 courses for them that will lead them through the incorporation of a business, to scaling it, to all the legal aspects and hiring employees. And so they take these 100 courses online, and we've served small numbers of people in 22 states already in just the past 6 years.
And what would it cost for me if I wanted to get in on this program? I mean, what are the costs involved in something like this?
So our cost per head inside is $500. On the outside, it depends on how many people we serve in a state, but I don't like handouts, and I hate pity. I don't think pity or handouts do good for the people that we serve. And so if you become one of our EITs, that stands for Entrepreneurs in Training, I hate the word ex-con. I say we're all ex-somethings. So if you want to become a Defy EIT, then once we help land you employment and you have the means, then we have a tuition of $100 per month for participation. And what that does for you is that then it starts to build your own self-esteem and dignity. That $100 per month that you're going to pay over the next 9 months goes to subsidize the scholarships of men and women on the inside of prison.
Pay it forward.
And paying it forward, and many people who have done time want nothing more than to live with purpose. They want that redemption. And so when they know that they're actually becoming contributors, they're basically being philanthropists now while getting themselves ahead as well. It builds a whole new type of person and identity.
You've obviously got some success stories. I'm seeing thousands, but maybe there's one or two that you're talking about now more than others. What would
our most successful story? His name is Cos Marte, and he did 5 years in prison. He went to prison at 19 for having a $2 million a year drug ring. And he was 70 pounds overweight when he went to prison. The doctors told him his cholesterol was so high that he would die in prison, and he didn't want to die in prison. So he lost 70 pounds using his own little exercises. Then he taught other incarcerated men how to lose a collective 1,000 pounds. He gets out of prison, and with the help of Defy Ventures, he launches a prison-style fitness boot camp called Con Body.
Of course.
Yes, Con Body.
Absolutely.
And now in just about 2 years, he has more than 7,000 customers. We have helped him to raise more than $200,000 in equity funding. So he went through all of our Shark Tanks, and then we also introduced him to other investors. And he spends his life serving and giving back. He's a Christian. He's now an amazing father. Like the restoration and redemption that comes out of these stories is what fires me up to keep going.
Well, I can imagine being fired up, given the energy level that's just in this interview, given all the growth that's happening with Defy, how do you maintain a level of sanity in your own life?
Who said I'm sane?
Well, more sane. I guess I don't know if you are or not, because to do all this, I'm questioning whether this is even humanly possible. But you are doing it, and you're doing it in a way that obviously the joy of Christ kind of comes straight through out of you. So how does this work?
God has blessed me beyond measure. I like to say that I'm God's spoiled brat, to get my own second chance in this way.
And there's a completely different view from the God before, which, we just happened to kind of come in late in the game. And now
I felt like I was getting lashed before when I wasn't doing the right thing. And now I feel so much freedom from my healing, and from no one thinks I'm an angel anymore. People used to say that I was like this perfect angel. And so I have much more grace toward myself still to this day. But I'm not a very normal person. I have this weird drive. My drive comes from my love for God and my deep hatred for injustice. Racism and economic injustice drive me crazy. So like when I see that another white cop shoots a black guy and then people start barking on Facebook about it. Okay, barking is nice, but what does that really do? This is my best effort at leveling the playing field. But learning to take care of myself so that I don't blow up with my crazy passion is really important. So when I was at PEP, I lived completely unsustainably. Like Mother Teresa was my role model, and I was as frugal as it could be, and I didn't have good self-care for myself. I would sleep 4 hours a night and brag about it. And a lot of why my life blew up and my marriage, why I ended up in divorce, is because I wasn't taking care of myself and my marriage. And so I learned a lot of lessons out of that, and I am good at learning my lessons on things. And I said I never want to live that way again. And I know very well that if I want our work to reach as many people as possible, which I want that, then I also need to take care of me, and I need to be healthy, like emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I am very prone to excess in my life. And so I get great accountability. I have a business coach who sends me a daily accountability email where we've set up some of my vital signs, and I report on those.
And when you say vital signs, I mean,
yeah,
is this your
for
blood
me,
pressure?
it's like, no, not for me, blood pressure is not a problem. But so the things, I only am accountable on a daily basis on the things that I might not do well. So the number of emails in my inbox actually affects my peace. So I report on that. Did I do my daily quiet time? Did I work out? So how many hours did I sleep? And I actually average 8 hours a night.
So you're
of
serious?
sleep
You
now.
actually are reporting in.
I actually report in on the number of hours that I sleep. And I'm really proud to say that I average 8 hours. Even during the week, I sleep even more on weekends. I take 3 weeks of vacation at least per year where I don't check emails during those vacations. Like I have really strong boundaries and amazing friends who hold me accountable to those boundaries. I am living my wildest dream. I can't believe that I get to do this work all over again. I can't believe that people, everywhere I go, I have to talk about my story of screwing up, and people still give me a chance to extend chances to other people. So I feel really deeply honored by that.
Well, the grace you extend to others is the grace you also receive.
I see that.
And the God of grace is all over you. I mean, that just is really clear. You've so blessed us just sitting down with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.